40 minutes, 40.
So, good morning. It is Wednesday, January 7th, right?
Yep.
That's right. Money.
2026. Welcome to 2026. And I got back from Israel Monday morning at 5:30 a.m. Took a shower, came to work because,
Oh my gosh.
well, you have to stay up. If you don't stay up, you're safe. So I've had 2 full nights of sleep, and I feel like myself again. It was a fabulous trip. The families were wonderful, but it's hard. It's a lot of walking. We did tunnels. We did cave splunking. It's a lot. And, but it was a lot of fun. The kids were great. We did a B'nai Mitzvah there. And unfortunately, it rained the whole time in Jerusalem. They were such good sports. And I can tell you more. And you know that I go take a Hebrew class right after this.
Yes.
Israel.
What are the kids?
They were kids. It was a family trip.
It was for a bar mitzvah.
Oh,
Two B'nai Mitzvah.
How many
But
families?
there's 22 people. Every place we went, thanked us for coming.
do you want to sit?
The museums, the workshops, the synagogue. So, right after this, I run. We're going to have to end on time today. And I take a Hebrew class with somebody who sits in Haifa, and I met him, and he's really adorable. Oh, I guess
You already know Hebrew? What is kind of a Hebrew class? Is it speaking Hebrew?
Yeah.
Or
for me.
Speaking Hebrew.
Yeah. Modern Hebrew, modern grammar.
Yes.
Yeah. I think at my age, it's good to have, another language. So, he's been very, very, very helpful. His name is Omri.
Are you going to show us some really handsome guy here?
Well, they make fun of me in the office because,
Who's Omri?
my Hebrew teacher.
Oh,
So,
you
So
take it
different
here,
than
don't you?
Reading
What?
Hebrew.
Do you take the Hebrew here?
it's on Zoom. He sits in
Oh.
Haifa. It's 5 o'clock in the afternoon, 6 o'clock. And here he was the principal of the school. That's Omri.
Oh.
Yeah.
That is
Oh, it's her baby.
She's gorgeous.
They're not- Yeah, she's all, that's Aiden, and she runs a school. If you know anyone who needs Hebrew, she has teachers, and it's been really great for me. And I used my Hebrew a lot when I was in Israel, and that felt fantastic.
So it's so different than reading, just reading Hebrew. And
Well,
talking.
so here's the thing. You mean reading Hebrew in a siddur with
Yeah.
vowels?
Yeah.
That's nothing. Anybody can do that.
Yeah.
But when it's hard for me to read the newspaper or anything without vowels. Speaking is much easier for me.
But it's the same letters. Everything's the same.
Yeah. But it's not. I mean,
The idioms. Because
the liturgy could be biblical Hebrew. It could be all of that. Okay. On to the Ballroom Blitz. And every time I say that, the only thing I can think of is that Queen song, Ballroom Blitz. I'll try to find it. It was a difficult story, if I must say so myself. And you loved it. I know. That's what I like about this group. We have haters and lovers.
I know. I loved it.
Talk to me.
Wait. So Mary, give your introduction, and then I have an
So
introduction.
this is based on a story. It's a modernization of a Grimm's fairy tale about 12 princesses. Now, the 12 princesses go out at night and dance, and their shoes are ruined in the morning. So the king locks them in a room. He's been locking them so that no one can get in, and he doesn't know where they're going. So he has princes come. So the first prince comes, and he has his head cut off because he can't figure it out. So finally, a
Wait,
prince
tell them that the king said, if you can figure it out.
you can become king, and you can marry my oldest daughter. I mean,
Right.
that's the whole thing. So there's this prince who comes along, and he meets a witch. The witch, of course, is the bartender. I mean, it's like a direct translation.
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, there's not a whole lot there. Other than, and then he gives him a cloak so he can be invisible. He pretends to be asleep, and the king leaves the door unlocked so that, and they go in and they make sure he's asleep, and then they leave and they go across the river in boats and they go basically to a castle and they dance. He follows them. He actually gets in the boat with them and goes over and comes back and then tells the king what's going on. So he marries the daughter, the oldest daughter. They live happily ever after. He becomes king. That is the story. Then I read a bunch of commentaries.
Which Disney, I don't know why, has not picked up on.
Exactly, because there's exactly. And so the whole thing of the fairy tale is that he had the courage to trust the witch. He had the courage to trust that he could do this and actually, go through with it, because he knows if he doesn't, he's a goner. He's dead. So that is what it's based on. And there are so many parallels. I mean, she basically took the story and said, okay, here could this happen? It happened in a bar. It happens with drug addicts. It happened. So that's where it's
So I just want to read this. This is from Gary K. Wolf, is Emeritus Professor of Humanities at Roosevelt University. He said 12 boys are forever stuck in a bar. That is, unless they can get the same 12 girls to dance with them every night for 101 nights straight. What would you do to gain your freedom? And how would it feel when finally attained? As we may have been under a curse, but I remember us always laughing. I sincerely think that Ballroom Blitz is my favorite short of this anthology. I had to read this first. And part of me almost feels like it should have been placed either earlier or later in the collection as a bit of an anchor. Either way, this is a brilliant read I would not skip out on.
How old is this guy?
I have no idea. Emeritus. Emeritus. He's old. He's old.
Totally different interpretation.
I know. Okay. We're going to go with Judy, Izzy, and Evie.
Okay,
Judy.
well, I will tell you that when I learned that it was supposed to be related to the Disney story, I read
Not Disney, Grimm.
Grimm.
I
I read the Grimm story. To me, it couldn't have been more opposite. The women were having fun. They were happy. They were enjoying their life. These guys were not so happy.
Yeah.
To me, it was Rent.
Yeah.
Rent?
Yeah, remember the musical Rent?
Which
Yeah.
is based on, which is also based on,
Yes, it's similar.
What's it based on?
it's based on La Boheme.
La Boheme.
That's what it is. It's a modern version of it.
But it is about struggle and strife, and The Day in the Life is the most famous song from it.
Yeah.
And it's like the year, it says a year in your life.
Mm-hmm.
This is a year in their life. To me, it was Rent. It was more frenetic. It was not happy.
Yeah,
It was
very
not-
frenetic.
Very modern.
Agreed,
That's-
agreed,
Modern,
agreed.
you can't have happiness in it.
Yeah.
And Grimm's fairy tales actually are pretty gruesome.
Grim. They're grim. Yeah. Izzy, and then Evie, then Lynn.
Okay, I had a totally different take on it because I wondered, this had nothing Jewish in it, right?
No.
And but it did. I think it's 12 tribes of.
No, it was. There's a whole reference to that.
Okay, so
Yes, I
this
read a
is-
whole
this
thing
is-
on that
This
too.
is what I'm thinking. I heard the 12 teenagers and then the 12 girls. But I don't know if you caught in there, it was like Groundhog Day. They kept reliving
Yes.
the same
Yes.
thing over and over again.
Yes.
He beat up that kid so badly.
Yeah.
She beat him up
Yeah.
so that he could feel what it felt like. She
Right.
made them stay there until they became better people
Right.
with the girls coming in.
I like the Groundhog Day because a guy who hung himself and died of suicide and was back the next day.
Well, that's the whole thing, that you don't age and
You
there's
don't age.
constant rebirth, that you're caught
So-
in one place.
Yeah.
You always just keep repeating.
This is the reason, because they needed to go into the land of Egypt. Remember, they were,
Yeah,
they
yeah,
were stuck
yeah,
there for
yeah.
how many years? So they behaved themselves and were civilized people.
Mhm.
Well, it's the same thing. They were stuck here, which I thought was like the land of Egypt, until they could behave themselves and not act like thugs. And she would let him out. she would let him out then when the girls came, which were their saviors, but they also had to behave themselves. And they had to stay there over and over and over. and
Izzy, I
over
like
again.
that. All right.
So I looked up everything.
Yeah.
I learned so much last night. I looked at the 12 tribes.
Yeah.
And I wrote down every morning they wake up in the same beaten shape he put them in.
Yeah.
And then every day they had to do what she told them to do. I thought she was kind of like a mini god
Right.
in some ways. And then Cynthia tells them they can't set foot outside the bar until they behave themselves. She said, I thought I thought Isabel was like an angel. You're free, she says. Time to go. You can't stay here any longer.
Yeah.
So I took a whole Jewish,
I love the Jewish, always.
because I couldn't see anything
Yeah,
Jewish.
yeah,
there.
you're right.
Why
You're
would she? Why would
absolutely
she
right,
put
yeah.
the story in there,
Yeah,
even
yeah.
if it's an allegory?
All right, I have Evie,
Okay, that's
Lynn, and Merle. Evie, go ahead.
Again, I did not love it. And a little bit of knowledge is helpful because when I read it the other night, I couldn't wait to get into the shower. I just felt so grubby reading it. And I was having a lot of difficulty because to me there was a lack of punctuation in the story. I never knew who was who. But then last night I listened to the Audible.
You know, I have
a
that.
problem because I didn't know what gender was talking. You know,
Yes.
it was a
Yes.
female voice in the Audible.
Yeah.
So I didn't know who was who until they would occasionally mention a name. So I was totally confused. And just in terms of, you know, getting back to what you were saying, Vanessa, about speaking Hebrew and so on and so forth. And the difference is, as somebody who was maybe in Israel once and thought that they could, I mean, there's a difference to me with an American speaking Hebrew, which I can understand, or an Israeli speaking Hebrew. And I had the same thing when I started out as a French major. I could understand an American speaking, but that's when I dropped out.
Yeah.
But it was the same thing here, and getting so tuned into the last maybe decade or so of being gender neutral in terms of conversation. But here, to me, it was almost a switch because I didn't know who was talking. But then afterwards, when I saw a few references, you know, to some of the fairy tales. So thank you, Mary, for doing all of that explanation because I didn't know that you're doing that.
Yeah.
But you know, just having more information is so helpful. But you know, I was just going into it and really totally lost the first go around.
Well, thank you. Lynn.
I have a totally different interpretation.
There's no wrong answers.
I thought this was totally a modern story. And these boys are adolescents trapped in their own bodies.
Yep. Yeah, that's a
And
good
that
one.
they are totally self-centered
Mm-hmm.
and undisciplined. And their minds,
Absolutely.
what do they talk about? Their minds are not developed to have a conscience until they are way past adolescence.
Yeah,
And so
that frontal lobe.
that frontal lobe thing. And so, you know, all they could do is laugh and drink and drug up and all of that. And in walks these princesses, the Jewish princesses. We don't know much about them except this one girl that he becomes attached to.
Right.
And we watch the evolution of these boys who are real punks. I mean, this is a punk bar.
The punk.
Yeah, they dress like punks.
And they dress like
Right.
punks and they act like punks.
Yeah.
And as they become civilized and become other-centered, which he does towards the end,
Mhm. Yes.
and responsible, and he
Yeah.
talks about his brothers, you know, who become part of the mainstream.
Mm-hmm.
He becomes other-centered and introspective.
Mhm.
And he said, I've given up all that other stuff. And I don't know. I said to my husband, what gen are we in? Are we in Z? Are we in X? Or
Yeah,
are we
yeah.
in
Go back to
millennial? Or
go back to
what
Highland
are
Park
we?
High School and be in a classroom where you know the kids are, you know, They are going through this.
I
I've seen it 100
totally
times.
saw this as a story about.
It's Gen X.
Yeah, it's Gen Z.
It's Gen Z. I went through
Whatever gen we are, but the high
generation.
school students, this is what
I
they
see
think.
this as the Gen
They
Z
come in-
generation. Now, this could be a very narrow interpretation of the story, but it's the only one I could grab onto.
Very
All right, so it made any
issues
sense to me.
I like it. We have Merle, then Judy, then Barb. Merle, let me unmute you. Go ahead.
I read a variation of this story that it wasn't a prince who found who followed the girls. It was actually an old soldier, and I think maybe that's why the professor liked this story, the professor emeritus, because it was an old soldier who was allowed to marry the oldest daughter. It was a variation, the same story though. But I thought it just
Put another light on it.
right. He had the courage because he was a soldier and he, got the cloak of invisibility. But I thought this story is a modern story. It's not have a perfect little happy ending where the prince and the princess get married. She has to go into some kind of a center because she has some kind of a breakdown. And when he goes to get her, he has evolved. He says to her, I'm going to take care of you. I have a job. I have a place now above the club where we can live. He is completely changed from the boy we meet at the beginning, who's completely just a callow youth and just, all about the music, just about the music. But one of the things she complains about is that while she was in this center, she hated the music there. And he said that when she's with him, they'll listen to any music she likes. They're joined once again by the music.
Yeah.
I thought it was a modern story that this happens to people. And she says, I may have to go back again. I may have another breakdown in the future. He says, I'll take care of you. So there's such a wonderful evolution of his character. I love the ending of the story.
Yeah.
It's modern and realistic.
I have Barb and then Mary. Barb. Wait, I'll unmute you. Go ahead.
Okay, so this is like an out-of-body experience. On Monday night, I watched this new movie on HBO called Sinners with Michael B. Jordan. Has anyone seen it?
No,
Okay.
I have.
Okay.
Too well it has.
Okay, and then on last night, I read the story. And those of you who have seen the movie will understand where I'm coming from. It was like, the movie is highly rated. It's going to probably be up for all kinds of awards. And it turns out it's about vampires. And if I had known that, if I had known that ahead of time, I watched it. But it really was a very interesting movie and very much almost identical to the story. And these people are stuck in a bar and in a dance hall. Well, for reasons I'm not going to go into, can't get out, and how their life changes and what happens, and they keep coming back. They come back to life, and they get other chances, and it was just really a weird experience for me seeing that movie and then reading this story, which
That's very interesting. Right. Okay. Judy, then Mary.
To further the concept that it's a modern story, on 130, she says, because you needed me to be the girl who would save you, you don't love me and you don't know me, you don't need me, and you never once thought about what I needed or even noticed me counting when it comes down. The point is, that wouldn't have happened in a Grimm tale.
No.
That wouldn't have happened in any generation other than the one I know, that women are allowed to speak up or speak their piece and what. So I thought it was a very modern story, and that's why I equated it with Red.
Very interesting. Mary, then Lynn.
So I thought it was very depressing at the end. Okay, he goes back to the bar. He's drinking again. He's going to live in the bar. He has not ever left. In fact, she even says to him, you have never left. He has never really left. It's called codependency. If you it's very common. If you go into a drug rehab program, it's very common for a girl and a boy to strike up a serious relationship, and they become codependent and they depend on each other, but in not necessarily in positive ways. It's one of the problems that you face in long-term drug addiction is having codependency. And that's kind of what they're developing, because he never, the bartender's still giving him drinks.
Right.
He has 3 drinks before he even goes to try to find her. He can't do it without alcohol. He cannot work without alcohol. He can't live without being in the bar. He's in an apartment above the bar. And so he's not free. He has not gotten his liberty, and she knows that she's going to be circling back in. Now, so they have not made the transition of, okay, we're going to get jobs. We're going to live in our own apartment. We're really going to shed the past and recreate a future. He can't do that. And so I found it, and that's very, very common. It's a very modern concept.
Yeah.
Once a drug addict, you always have issues. Some people can shed and some people never do. And he does not at the end. And so I found it incredibly modern. Yes, modern, because that's what happened, and depressing.
Yeah. Lynn.
Okay. He says here, I'll learn. And I think you're right, but I think he's open. I mean,
being open and being codependent are two different things. They're two different steps.
Well, doesn't he
That's my
first
feeling.
refuse the drinks? I don't remember that. Remember if she?
No, he does not. He just sits down. She gives him one, he drinks it, then she comes back and they both have a drink. He has about 2 or 3 drinks before he can walk out the door again.
Right.
And he's only walking out the door because she says, you have a job here and I'm going to let you be, and you can live in the apartment upstairs, and you know the drill. Well, of course he knows the drill, but the drill isn't, I mean, you don't want someone who's been drug addicted or alcohol addicted back in an environment where they're drinking and serving it. I mean, you can't do that.
But I think that she represents the temptation.
Who does?
Cynthia.
Okay. The bartender.
And she knows what he's been through, and she still offers
No,
him the
absolutely.
drink.
She's exactly,
Well,
but he's going
guess
right
what?
back.
It's
An
not-
enabler.
He's an enabler. Well, but it's
trusting
not so easy. It's not so easy to break this habit. The fact that he wants to break the habit and is going to have a lot of missteps along the way. I feel when she says, I'm broken, and she says to him, you aren't like me. They both have issues here.
Sure.
They're both broken.
Yes.
They're both broken. Well, it depends on how you read the story. Do you want to be optimistic or do you want to be pessimistic?
Or realistic. Or realistic. This is magical realism, right?
I have a magical realism.
I do.
We have read enough stories and we've seen enough movies to know how hard it is to break an addiction.
Absolutely.
Okay. What is the author saying? We have to come back to the author and see what the author is saying. What is she saying?
I can tell you, she's giving a warning that drug addiction and even drug rehab places like his girlfriend was in, that codependency is something you have to deal with. And it's a warning, you're too codependent. She's saying that he hasn't broken free like his brothers. So the point is that she is giving a warning and a heads up of this is a real problem in drug rehab and drug addiction. That's really what it's the red flag.
Okay.
And that's how I looked at it.
I think she's also giving advice. I think she's
absolutely.
saying
Red flag.
you have to find a purpose other than alcohol and drugs.
Yes.
And she's do we have a name for this woman?
Isabel.
Isabel. And it's Isabel said, I feel useless. I feel useless.
I do. I think it's absolutely happenstance that Barb saw this movie. Here's on IMDb, trying to leave their troubled lives behind. Twin brothers return to their hometown to start again, only to discover that an even greater evil is waiting to welcome them back. And it gets very high on Rotten Tomatoes, which means my husband will want to go see it, unfortunately.
It's on TV.
It's on TV. Was it? Okay. Is it on TV?
HBO.
It's on HBO. Okay, all right. So I could zone out. Merle.
Okay. I had a rather optimistic view of the ending, which is many drug addicts who straighten their lives out become therapists for drug addicts. I actually know a young man who was in that case, and now he has this wonderful job. He moved to Minnesota. He's a therapist, and he's married. And he has children. A person whose life looked like it was so so going down the tubes with drugs and alcohol, a young person. And he straight, so I'm optimistic for this young man because he loves Isabel, that and my Jewish interpretation of this was Jews have sympathy. Jews have the possibility of, just caring about each other. I think that caring about each other can save you, can move you forward. That was my
Yeah. I think the concept is tshuva, which we do every Yom Kippur, or we're instructed, and I have this question a lot about a lot of different things. Can you really change? Can these kids change?
Yeah. They can, but you have to make a new life. You have to be the young man that goes to a new place, Minnesota, wherever, and leaves the bank. He uses his knowledge in a constructive way, but he's not living in with the drugs. He's not living where he's taking them. He's not living. And I'll go back to the idea that yes, he learned to care for another person. That's what codependency is. But she's also dependent on her. He could not. His brother says, "You need to do this. You need to find her." I found her. You were too scary to find her, but you can do it now.
Right.
But the point is that he's not really there, and neither is she. Now, is he really going to leave that bar? Is he really going to walk away? He's moved back. He's going to move back in. He says it. And he takes the keys. He's going to run the bar 3 nights a week.
Well, maybe that's a sign of strength. If he's surrounded by all of this.
But he's
that's
doing
the
it. He's
test.
still doing it. He's still doing the drinking and everything else.
His responsibility now.
But it doesn't matter. Drugs are
And the
drugs.
person that he's codependent with says, I'll never be cured. It'll never be over.
Right.
So
She's got mental problems more than drug problems. She's nervous.
Right.
No, she has mental,
She has mental
but he needs to feel he can care for her, and she needs to feel it gives him purpose, but it doesn't get him away from the drugs. It doesn't get him away from the bar.
You're assuming that I assume he has to stay okay to take care of her.
Exactly.
Well, he's not. He's already drinking.
Right.
He never stops drinking. He never stops it.
No, but that
The
is
deaths understand that trying to escape would likely result in an immediate punishment or death. This creates an atmosphere of fear and control, forcing everyone to stay and participate whether they want to or not. On a deeper level, the inability to leave symbolizes how people can feel trapped by social expectations. What do you think about that?
Yes. I think that's what was painful about his life outside the bar. Is there were expectations. It cut him like razors or whatever they described it. It was very hard for him.
Right. Izzy and then Evie. Izzy.
I have a question. He was the oldest of the 12.
Right.
And he said he was responsible for them all being naughty or bad.
Right.
And the youngest one was like the most innocent. He was the first out the door.
Right.
So
That's like the 12 sons.
exactly. Exactly. Because I looked it all up. It was so familiar in an opposite kind of way.
In an
So
opposite.
she thought this story. This is what I think. She thought the story, and then she probably read yours, and probably what your interpretation.
No, I think that there's
it's
lots of
parable.
literature, and
Yes.
there's lots of different takes on this,
So
and
you
it all
can-
goes back to the original human.
Exactly.
Human,
So
the
I think it
Jewish
was
story.
fascinating. That's why I thought it was just fabulous.
Yeah.
Her take.
Evie.
Yeah, I'm thinking more in terms of connection as opposed to a,
right.
I don't know, was I muted? I don't know. Connection.
No, you're good.
In terms of another type of addiction, a connection to the responsibility to the group that you've had, that bonding. And we were talking about whether it was the drugs or the liquor, and I'm thinking about the prevalence now. Well, partly a universal thing, because I think I see it sort of in other traditions too. But I think among the young college age kids, their attraction to Chabad, where all of a sudden there's an immediate connection, and the draw is all of the wine on Friday nights. That, kids who were not used to that in terms of a social outlet, where they're all of a sudden drawn to that, as well as just the familiarity of the same people all the time. So I see that too as kind of a mixed feeling, the yin and the yang of it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Terry hit her.
Yes. No, Karen.
Thank you. So I had two thoughts. First, if the protagonist, the fellow whose name I don't even remember, the guy, If he's
I'll
going
invite-
back to work at the bar, is he becoming
Well,
the
tell her
next
that
witch?
I'm
Is he
inviting her with
becoming-
another link.
Is he becoming the next Cynthia? And is that a good thing or a bad thing? Is there a value judgment on that? And second of all, I still maintain that this author has a very intimate knowledge of mental illness. These people are all.
Yes,
Yeah,
Isabel.
yes.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
I think truly she writes with such accuracy of symptoms of mental illness, and
Yeah.
you know, poor Isabel. Isabel is profoundly depressed.
Yes.
And so it's bothersome, and it's disturbing, deeply disturbing the first time you read it, and then when you go back and reread it again, it takes on
Even
some
more
different-
disturbing.
Even more disturbing. Yes. Yes. Here, here.
But
and I love everybody else's interpretations.
I do too. Judy, go ahead.
Karen,
And then
I'm just
Merle.
responding to Karen's first comment. I absolutely agree with everything you said. I do not think he will become the new bartender because she imparted a different vent. I don't think he's capable of. I don't think he could go there, but that's just my interpretation.
Yeah. I didn't particularly like the bartender.
I don't think you think he evolves if he becomes Cynthia.
Yeah.
I mean, I think there's such an evolution in his
Yeah.
character that I don't think he would. He seems so sympathetic and empathic
Yeah.
and
Yeah. Yeah.
compassionate at the end of the story.
Yeah.
I don't see, not unless, I mean, there are people who have dealt with family members who
Yeah.
are mentally ill,
Yeah.
like the Reiners.
Yeah. Merle.
Well, I'm going to follow along with this theory I had about who becomes the therapist for the drug addicts, and it's so
Okay.
often so they can still be around the idea of the drugs. They're not really leaving
Exactly.
everything. They're there, they're thinking about the drugs, they're thinking about the alcohol, they're helping the other people. And I think that could be a way that he would go. But also
That's
the
what I
music,
think.
the music is so important. I know a man who has dementia in California, and his wife told me that he participates in music therapy because he was a musician and he played the flute and the saxophone, fantastic musician. So she sent me a video of all the people from this center where he lives, and he's playing the flute and everybody is happy and dancing. I think the music is a huge part of this because it begins and ends with music. So as he and Isabel have
Interesting.
their
I never
music,
thought about that.
he and Isabel have their music. And so that's why I thought the ending was so positive, that it was not the music to trap them, but the music to free them. That's the way I thought.
I think that's fascinating because I never thought about that, but I do know that with some dementia patients, they can't have a conversation, but they can, sing a song that they remember from their youth. And, it's on a hook in your brain somewhere and can be very, very.
Music is on one side and learning something.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's just fascinating. Okay. Any other, go. How do you think Cynthia relates to the boys and then to the girl, to Isabel? Do you think she treats them differently or? Barbara. And then Mark.
She's- I think she pretty much sees it.
She's playing.
She knows what's going on. She knows that
Yes.
there's the
She's,
night
and
and
she
all
made
that. And I think she
That's
treats
really-
them fairly
that.
equally. I mean, I think she sees that codependence on, that I've been talking about in both groups.
Mhm.
And I think she is pretty generally the same for both.
Okay. Merle.
She is a very weird character because on the one hand, she's giving them a place to go every night where they can be together.
I didn't think about
Also
that.
taking advantage of them. I'm sure these drinks aren't free. She's
Yeah.
probably
Only at night, only at night.
Yeah.
whatever she's doing, I think she's taking advantage of them and using them for her own
Mhm.
reasons, whatever.
Absolutely.
Maybe she doesn't seem to be married or have children or whatever. These kids might become her family. And I think that her offering him a job at the end was probably the most human thing that she did, kind human thing that she did.
Yeah.
And she was more like a sorceress. I mean, that's where you get
That's what I think.
the dark side.
That makes more sense than why I didn't like her. Okay, Mary, then Beverly.
I think the bartender is totally evil. She knows when she hands him the key, she says, you know the job. I've trained you. She says, I've trained you. The point is that she doesn't live there. She is the drug dealer. She's the person saying, here you go. And pulling him back in with the temptation. Now we want to be optimistic, say, oh, he's going to shed the transfer thing. But he does take the keys. He does take the job. He does, and he takes the drinks. So who knows? But she is not a good person, and she's not giving him a job because she feels good. She's saying, come on, buddy, take the weed, take the cocaine, take the alcohol, just a little nibble. It won't make a difference, and cloaking it. And that's what drug dealers do.
Correct.
Back in. I think it's just a very realistic take on modern day. And I've been in high school with kids. I worked in special ed where kids had these problems. Yeah. I know about codependency. We watch for it among the students. We watch for all this stuff. We watch to see if they're being. And one of the advices that all the psychologists say is that you have to make a new life. You have to shed.
You have to shed that.
You have to shed your friends even. I mean, the advice the girl got is just very common. It's like, you need to make the break and go through the hard part of making the break. He never quite makes the break. That's the problem here.
Okay, I have Beverly, then Lynn. Beverly.
Yeah, it was a very compelling read. It kept me going. I liked reading this story. And I wanted to and I loved everybody's interpretations. There was also a thing in there that felt very much like Scheherazade, because it was 101 nights but I think it's 1,001 nights in Scheherazade. But so they have to stay 101 nights, like to learn their lessons.
Yeah.
To be free. And I thought that was also, a symbol in the story.
Yeah.
Adding that.
Here. Lynn.
He encountered Cynthia before he found Isabel.
Right.
Correct?
Yes. Correct.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. He has a journey. There's another journey feeling in here. He's been looking all over for her, he said. He finds her, and we have this interlude here about his commitment to her. So I think she's also saying that the support group you have around you, people that you have around you, are essential to healing. And the brothers, I think, come out. Several of them. I don't know how many of the 12. Nine. Offering help, and you have the feeling that they're going to be there watching him and guiding him. It's going to be a rough road. I mean, we've seen stories about this. There's relapse and then there's recovery.
Yeah. There's
no, I mean, I can't say that it's going to be a perfect story, but I think that when she says, I feel useless, and he obviously doesn't have a sense of purpose. Cynthia does give him a sense of purpose. It depends on what he does with this. So there should be a sequel.
We don't know how it ended. I mean, we don't. I mean, obviously.
We don't know. Yes. We don't know.
Vanessa.
I didn't like the story. I found I was uncomfortable. I felt trapped, and maybe it's because of politics right now, but I felt claustrophobic. It was very uncomfortable read for me.
Yeah, I agree.
Susan.
I agree with Judy. I had difficulty reading this story. I kept looking ahead to see when the end would come.
That tells you.
I was with you. There's no end.
Well, right. I kept thinking it's gonna, untangle itself by the end, but I do have some more questions. We talked about people feeling trapped by social expectations. And how does tradition and authority, remove personal freedom? Because I feel like they felt, they didn't have the freedom to leave the bar. You didn't. Right. So,
Well, again, I think this idea of trapped is personal and internal.
yeah.
I mean, they are trapped in this cycle of drugs and
Right.
and pill popping. And he said there wasn't a drink we passed by, there wasn't a pill we didn't pop, there wasn't a leaf we didn't take a drag
Right.
of. I mean, there was no maturity, there was no restraint in here.
So,
And
Susan.
Well, I thought it was interesting too, how the one thing that I found interesting was how their lives seemed to change once the girls arrived.
Yes.
It was like they were so dependent on having these girls.
Right.
And it seemed to me very sexual.
It was. Yeah.
Yeah, well, it was. I mean,
It's
there's
more
no-
interesting than what was there, but okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
But they needed those girls.
Yeah. Here's another why most guests choose obedience over resistance. And I think in this case, the resistance was resistance to drinking and drugs, and they just kept going along with it. And again, we have said to be enabler, Cynthia is the enabler, and to be in these codependent relationships is not good. Any therapist would have told them, get out of there. Lynn.
I have just one other comment, probably not. But anyway, I felt that their emotional essence was trapped. He didn't have emotions in this until they were released.
Right.
I mean, his ability to feel for someone else, his ability to feel compassion, to as she said, you didn't see what I needed.
Yeah.
All you cared about is what you needed.
Right.
And I don't know if that's an age-related thing or part of this feeling of being trapped in their emotional life that they couldn't get that out. I think it's a deeply psychological story.
I agree. Merle, go ahead.
I think it's partly a social commentary on our society, and it could be really, you could extrapolate this into other cultures too.
Right.
Why are people so dependent on alcohol? When you go to the grocery store, and it's so interesting, this just happened to me yesterday. I heard someone go into the liquor department and say, "Do you have a non-alcoholic wine?" And he said, yes, I do.
Of course he does.
But the woman didn't even believe that it was possible. She's trying to get out of this cycle of always giving her friend or her family or whoever it is liquor. But it's so much a part of different cultures. I mean, you look at something like Russia, where they just drink vodka. And here, starting when you're 21, and everyone in college, of course, gets fake IDs and tries to start drinking earlier than that. But why can't people break away from this cycle of alcohol? And I mean, I thought that was one of the big commentaries of this story, that we are stuck in society here and all over the world. Get rid of it.
Yeah, here, Susan.
Yeah, Merle, I hear what you're saying. And what's interesting to me when you think about this alcohol business is because I live alone, I watch a lot of movies on Netflix and Prime and what have you. And I watch from foreign movies a lot. They are always drinking.
Yeah.
Always drinking. Every time, I mean, they're constantly, it's everywhere. It's like they turn to alcohol.
It's like smoking was.
Yes.
That's true.
Yes,
I never.
exactly.
Decades ago.
Actually, the news is that there is less drinking
Huh.
and there is less alcohol. They're actually stopping bourbon production. They're shutting certain facilities down because kids, the generation that used to use these things,
Mhm.
are going to marijuana. And
Interesting, yeah.
so
They're
there's
substituting one
yeah,
thing for
they're
another.
substituting
Yeah.
one thing for the other, but there is a drop. There's a huge financial drop if you are involved in alcohol production and whatever.
Well,
I
there are
do.
two things going on there. And I'll come in. Number one is that, yeah, there is more, there, like if you go to restaurants, they're more not, now they're listing a bunch of non-alcoholic
Right.
drinks. A lot of corporations have January where they put, it's your health month and they have kind of
Dry,
competition,
right.
dry months, and
Dry.
you're supposed to stay dry. So there's society, yes, but the lack of production in alcohol in the United States has to do with tariffs. They cannot afford.
Oh, yeah,
And that's why they're doing it. It's not because people aren't drinking this stuff. I mean, a year ago, every store, we went to Kentucky, I went to Kentucky with my son, and it wasn't even the bourbon truck. Every shopping center had a distillery. It was weird. It was everywhere. And there were cars and people doing it. So, I think that our society is working on it, most definitely. And there are a lot of adults who said, you know what, I'm going to drink a non-alcoholic beer. I'm going to drink a non-alcoholic drink.
Yeah.
But I think in terms of the overall, including the youth, it's out there and it's sort of like the cigarette. And I agree with that.
Right. I also think, I can tell you at Macomb that we've looked at some of our programs. We had very successful Latka Vodka, which rhymes. But this year we had a Hanukkah party. It's Shabbat and Shmooze. And I don't know if it was Shabbat and Schnapps, but there happens to be Talmud and tequila. There's a lot of alliteration, but we've tried to be very sensitive that, because we know we have people who don't drink. We know that we, need to have, a non-alcoholic, what's it called? Right. So, it's something that at least we're aware about. I totally agree with the tariff situation.
And Canada won't be buying. Canada used to buy a huge percentage and they won't buy.
Not exactly, but it's more than that. I think adults, I'm talking about what we would have on,
Yes.
on a Friday night.
Yes.
The adults that are there, they're more aware of it. We are more sensitive. So I think there is a term, because you go to a restaurant and they're like 5 or 6 non-alcoholic drinks
Yeah.
pushed the same as their specialty drinks. And I think that's good because, I think that helps. But I think it's the adult people who are 40 and 30 and 50 are looking at this much more than someone who's 18.
Right. I do. I go back to what Abby said at the beginning. I do think there is a atmosphere of drinking on college campuses. I agree with the whole Chabad thing, and I think that that's something that we need to talk about with our kids. It's an ongoing, it's an ongoing discussion of, I think we've all learned, especially in Deerfield, because there was, must have been at least 15 years ago, where somebody had drinking at the house and the kids drove and people got killed. And, I hope we've learned our lessons with that, but, how to teach your kids responsible drinking. Is there such a thing as responsible drinking?
Yes,
Lynn. Yes, there is, says so. Lynn. And Julie, I'll get to you in a second.
My emphasis when I was reading this was on 132. There's something happening in our society, and it's getting worse because of this administration, I have to say, who is the role model for behavior.
Or the lack thereof.
The lack thereof. And it begins, I'm sorry, I said, I shouldn't have said that about your sisters. That's a important statement. And I don't care how much you drink. Not really. I know, she said, but it's not about that, is it? All this time, and you never really noticed anything wrong with me, did you? There's nothing wrong with you, I said. I can't feel anything when we have sex. She said, I don't feel anything but bad anymore. I didn't know what to say to that. I used to feel things here with you. I used to feel good, and then it kind of fell away, and I was just coming to help you. Maybe I used myself up. I'll help you. I can do that for you, like you've done for me. I don't think you can. You only ever thought about yourself and your brothers, really, like you're the only ones under curse. You only ever thought about what I could do for you, bring you cigarettes, get you off, set you free. Even tonight, you just worried about yourself, didn't you? Did it ever cross your mind that I wasn't here because something had happened to me? You wouldn't know how to help me. I tasted salt and realized the tears are running down my face. Don't leave me. I'll learn. And my question is, can you learn empathy? Can you learn compassion?
That's a
And I
good
think that's
question.
the question she's asking
Yeah.
us.
And is the drink dulling their senses and their feelings
Exactly.
and their behavior? And I always think about the books of do I like the characters? And when I like the characters, I usually like the story or the book more. And I just don't know if there's anyone in here that I like. Julie, did you want to say something? I unmuted you.
No, I didn't.
Okay, just checking.
I shouldn't.
Okay. Go ahead. All right. Yes, no, all right. All right, if you put your hand up if you do. Merle.
I mean, could you look at the end of this story as an opportunity for second chances? I mean, every person sometimes needs a second chance to correct something.
Yeah.
And so depending how you interpret the end as optimistic or pessimistic, I was optimistic. I just see it as a second chance. Maybe he can learn empathy and learn how to take care of her and just be an adult finally. So
Right.
I thought it was about second chances.
Right. On 139, she took my hand, interlaced our fingers. I could see the afternoon sun through the glass door. I still wasn't used to being out in daylight, even to seeing daylight. And at the very end of that paragraph, okay, I told her we're going home. I've got the new Gloss album in the car, and you can turn the volume up as loud as you want. Thank God, she smiled up at me. The music in this place is shit. Together, we walked right the F out of the door. And that, because I think we know that it's a curse being in there and going through the cycle over and over. Who said groundhog? Did Izzy say groundhog day? Yeah. The whole groundhog day and getting up.
I think daylight, bring me, I wasn't used to being out in daylight. That's a very symbolic statement.
Yes.
Because to me, daylight is living in the real world.
Yes.
And it's painful living in the real world. We all know that, especially if you have no one to be with you to make you feel safe.
Right.
So, and that's a sign of developing intimacy. I mean, they have a long way to go to develop intimacy.
They have a long way to go, period.
Okay.
There's so much going on there.
Take of matching each other's needs or paying attention to each other's needs. That's a marriage that sometimes succeeds and sometimes doesn't.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not an easy case. So I have mild optimism. How about that?
That's good.
All right. Mary, were you going to say something
About the light. Well, he had been in the light. He had a job. He was working for his brother's father, and he couldn't handle it. And that's the real job. And then he went back to the bar. That's where I get my pessimism. That he couldn't work at a real job. A job in the real world. He had to go back into the bar, even if it's and live there. He's going to live there. So to me, it really reflects. And I think that drug addiction is a lifetime problem. I think there are relapses. And so he's taken a step forward and a step back.
They're never they're
neutral.
recovering alcoholics, recovering substance abuse. You never say,
Exactly,
No,
and
you never say
he
you're
did a
cured.
step forward in
Never say
caring
you're
for
cured.
her, but he
You never
took a
say you're
step back
cured.
to go back to the bar and leave the job that was a normal everyday
Right,
job. So
right.
it really leaves you with kind of maybe a question mark, and then it's like, which side of it do you want to go on?
And now I'm thinking about, can you teach empathy? And it's not easy. My middle kid's on the spectrum, and I don't know if I could teach. I can teach him a lot of things: to look you in the eye, shake your hand, ask you how you are. But empathy, I don't know. I don't know if you can teach that. It's hard.
It takes a lot of self-awareness.
Yes.
There are times when I realize when I walk away from somebody, I should have been more empathetic.
Yeah.
And I kind of went, oh, okay, and went on and it's human. That's just, not that I don't care for them, because I do have empathy, but there are times when you have to be self-aware that maybe you should have been a little bit more empathetic or taken an extra minute to ask the next question and not let it just wash you over.
Exactly.
So,
Merle, and then Barb.
I've noticed lately when I watch movies about suicide or addiction, often at the end of the movie, they'll give you the name of a place where you can go, some type of social service.
Yes.
So I thought at the end of this story, she should have listed Alcoholics Anonymous, which is in every city in the United States. I don't know how I meet these people, but I did meet a man who was a former alcoholic. And he told me that every time he travels, he goes to AA. And these places are comfortable and they have lovely chairs and paintings, and you meet people like yourself. I think he should have done that.
Yeah. Barb.
As far as teaching empathy, I think it's modeling, and it's something that we always do. I think that we do as parents when we're raising our children. I think it's a lifelong learning self-experience that you learn from your own experiences and how to be a better person and a better friend and empathetic toward other people when they are modeling it to you. So it's like a lifelong learning experience.
Absolutely. Here. I will leave you with a quick anecdote. My professional group, the Association of Reformed Jewish Educators, it's called Friends of Bill W. That's RAA, and it's every night. We don't know who comes, but we get a room. Pardon?
What's RAE?
ARJE. It's the Professional Reformed Jewish Educators. So we go to Israel and we tell them we need a room. And they said, well, for how many people? We don't know. Then we said, and they have to be able to smoke. Because in AA meetings, you have to be able to smoke. And they said, I have the perfect place, the bar. We're like, no, not the bar. Anyway, Abby, and I'll unmute you, and then we'll talk about what's coming up.
Yeah, I was just thinking about that because as we were talking about alcoholism, and I just remember just before you said that, Vanessa, when we, years ago when we used to go on cruises with our kids, and we didn't know what this activity was. It was Friends of Bill W. It took me a long time to understand.
That's what it is, too. I didn't understand. Right. It should not meet in the bar is the moral of that story. Yes. So I will see you all in 2 weeks, The Serpent. And the next book the next story.
Do you know that?
The next story is The Serpent, but my evening book club, it's the Tova Mervis book, just in case, if you've been reading it, you want to come along. Wait, I have to go. Blah, blah, blah. It's We Would Never, and it's based on a real story. We Would Never, and I'll send out something about that. I'll send out this.
That's the next book.
It's my evening book club. Tova Mervis.
It's a good.
Yes, I do know the date. I have to look it up, but I know the date. I think it's January. It's January 22nd.
22nd.
Yeah, in the evening on Zoom. Just on.
No, what about our group?
Oh, our group is the Wednesday before, the 21st.
The 21st.
Yes.
Okay.
And it's great seeing everyone. I hope happy New Year. I hope everybody is doing well. If you we have regular Shabbat Torah studies in person this week. And if there's anything you need from me, let me know.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you. I'm sorry.